Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Token City Show. Today we have with us Steve Kainan. Steve is a leading expert in asset tokenization and digital securities with over 17 years of experience as a lawyer and as a private equity specialist. He is currently an advisor for leading companies in the space, and he's also focused on building the SDG3 security token community, a global network of companies and individuals helping accelerate the adoption of tokenized assets, which Token City is very proud to be a part of. Hi, Steve, and welcome to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Hola.
Hola, great to see you. Shalom. So,
Thank you.
Steve, you have a long career in this space. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience so far, your journey so far?
Yeah. I've been for about a decade in this space. I come from a place of regulation background. I'm
¿Me
no
lo puedes
longer
meter
a
por el
practicing
pinganillo? Porque
lawyer.
casi no le
Yeah, but I'm no longer a practicing lawyer. But I started as a lawyer. Started as one.
oigo.
And was basically one of the early practitioners to start in consulting either companies that was trying to raise money
Pero yo puedo hablar o no?
through an STO at the time, or companies that were providing this service to other companies that were providing STO as a platform. Then I moved. I did some executive roles. I was the trading platform named Toda. We actually launched a very interesting project about social impact that was trying to imitate the concept of universal basic income with cryptocurrency. A very successful project. And then joined another company afterwards named Onera that was backed by JP Morgan, where we basically tried to create a network that connects different financial organizations together, because our thinking was that each one of those financial organizations would eventually develop its own blockchain and will need somehow to connect them. And this project still operates today. That's most of it what I did. I also been a CEO of a startup for about 3 years that was trying to tokenize the market of pre-IPO, the way that shares are traded pre-IPO. And we have similar license to Token City to allow for the trading of private stocks.
Mm-hmm. Understood. You mentioned efforts that go in the direction of digitization, but also in the direction of interoperability. We will have the opportunity probably to talk about more about interoperability, but I would like to have your opinion on that. You recently finished, you had the Real World Asset London Summit, which was focused on use cases for real world assets and payments, where Token City took part. What were your main takeaways from it? And maybe if you want, expand a little bit on your opinion on how interoperability looks to you.
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, and I'll start with the event. First, I'm not a professional event organizer. What I am, I lead a community of executives in this space. We started this community in 2018, and until now we have about 250 executives, all from organizations that are building solutions in the digital assets, specifically around tokenization of asset space, like yourself. So this event was basically the event of the community, and it had broad participations from big players in the industry, including asset managers such as State Street, Fidelity, BNY Mellon, also banks like Lloyds, Citibank, Wisdom Tree, and so on, together with crypto industry, but more like the institutional crypto, not DeFi, which is the big market maker, GSR, Wintermute, and B2C2. We contribute also to the regulation panel So all in all, a very good event and a lot of interesting perspectives about the future of digital assets. I think what's I can tell you backstage from talking to those big TradeFi players, what I hear is that they are all building like crazy. They are all investing. They have more budget than they had before, and they have, in terms of regulation, the regulation is a little bit more clear. So they're also allowed to develop, and they're developing. They're building products in the space from not only custody solution, but custody and stable coins and blockchain and everything that you can imagine. So this is one of the things that I take from this event. The other thing is, in terms of stable coins, obviously this is a product market fit from the industry, and we're going to see more stable coins. We're going to see stable coins of different coins. Right now, it's the dollar-nominated stable coins that is controlling the industry, but we're going to see more stable coins from different countries developed by private organizations, not by CBDC, like central bank currency. And I think that regulation is going to lead the way. I think that regulation is the door opening for the industry, and the fact that there's regulation that allows for the traditional players to move in, and that will also bring more stability to the industry, right? We want to act, alongside with those big players. We want to work with them, and they're also really good trusted counterparties.
Absolutely. You mentioned stablecoins as opposed to central bank digital currencies. You're probably mentioning the Trump administration that proposes to ban CBDCs and to promote and clarify the framework for stablecoins, both at the federal level and at the state level, imposing checks and reporting. So there's, little room for bad plays, so to speak. And we also have MiCA here in Europe. So that's a very important part of the puzzle, so to speak, the ability to facilitate trade. And something that is also interesting in terms of the Trump administration is in the same bill, they propose that banks may be able to use blockchain technology for their internal processes and internal settlements and so forth. So then maybe we can discuss this new wave of fresh air that in our sector is the new administration. You just maybe a couple of hours ago shared an article regarding Coinbase, who is now declaring that they see that the new administration is welcoming enough that they may be able to issue a blockchain-based version of their shares, which they would have liked to do in the first place, but they didn't do, right? So what's your take on all of this? How do you see things playing out?
Yeah, I can tell you, this is a major change. In 2018 or 19, I flew to the US to a conference about regulation. And there was a representative from the SEC. And actually, us lawyers, like we were thinking about how can we make everything, ICO? How can we do like token issuance in a compliant way? And thinking about the different exemptions that the regulation offer. And then the SEC representative went on stage, in the conference. I think I paid like, $500 or $1,000 just to get into the conference. And then like she went on stage, she says, every time that I see blockchain or crypto on any one of your prospectus, I'm going to put it in the end of the pile and not look at it. That was the SEC approach until now. Okay, they were hunting Coinbase. They were hunting, bad players and good players alike. There wasn't any regulatory clarity, and the general statement was, we'll just slap you with enforcement action when we find things that, instead of talking to usually the regulator, when they work with traditional players, they used to talk with them. But now, taking a big public company, credit company like Coinbase, and starting procedures against them, that's not wise. And right now, what we see with this current administration of Trump, look, he doesn't want CBDC. It's against his views. He's libertarian. He has libertarian views, and CBDC gives too much control to the country. I can tell you, I'm an advisor for the Israeli CBDC project. I'm part of the committee that advises the Bank of Israel for the CBDC project. It's an interesting project. I see a lot of value into it. But again, if the Americans would not go on to execute a CBDC project, I'm not sure that other places in the world will go and use CBDC. And the other thing that we need to understand about Trump is that he has a very, he's very, he speaks loudly, but eventually what he says is very clear. He wants crypto, stable coins in the United States. He wants the leading coin in the world, in the digital world, in the crypto world, to be the US dollar. And he's acting to have that. So, he's not stupid. He knows what he talks about. It's a lot of money. This money can flow into a money market fund and to finance the US debt. So I can understand his action. You can definitely understand his actions.
I completely agree with that libertarian sentiment. I would like to ask you, because there's of course leading in terms of leading the charge, regulatorily speaking, there's Singapore, who with the monetary authority, who are doing a great job with pilots and concepts and trying to see how blockchain can be applied. But from the Western perspective, we have the EU and the US, so to speak. Thus far, the EU may be, maybe a little bit cumbersome, but clarity at the end of the day on how to proceed forward. So we now see the new wave of fresh air and also clarity that Trump is bringing to the table. What would you like to see in terms of that Atlantic connection, regulatorily speaking, and maybe technologically, like we were saying, but at the end of the day, securities, right? A security in the US is not the same as a security in the EU. How can we help the connection for regulatorily speaking, for trade between these two jurisdictions?
Yeah, so I think in Europe, I think the Europeans have done a great job with the regulation, with MiCA regulation, and licensing and bringing clarity. And the aim for it was to attract the crypto companies to Europe. That was Europe want more crypto companies, more digital assets companies to build in Europe and launch, because they also recognize the value of this industry and the need for clarity. Because when MiCA was enacted, there wasn't any clear regulation in the US, and actually the SEC was chasing, as we said before, was chasing cryptocurrency. So it was wise to do this regulation. But then again, the problem with doing regulation sometimes is that regulation can become too complex and hard to understand, and there's different things within regulation that can also hinder innovation. So when you put too much, for example, I'll give you an example. For example, like Toda regulation, which is a regulation like operational regulation that was enacted for big financial institutions, to now to ask this regulation to apply to also small CASP, crypto asset service providers. That might be, a lot of efforts need to be invested in order to reach the threshold the DORA regulation requires. So there's a play here. From one side you want to create clarity. From the other side, you don't want to hinder regulation. So it's a little bit difficult. In terms of the US, what we're seeing now is what I think would be an act of eventually deregulation. So all kind of exemptions from securities law, but eventually that would bring clarity. I think that the whole world would eventually need to adjust to the US standard of regulation. What they would be adopting from MiCA regulation that was good, and what they would come up with themselves to try to attract those projects to the US, which is their declared agenda, as I said before.
Understood. You know, I was thinking while I was asking you a question before, you know, we, Token City, we applied the ERC 3643 standard for tokenized assets. In this standard, there's a system for credentials and claims to manage those, right? So this issuer is verified and they can basically show to anyone in the system that they are a valid issuer or a valid credential issuer. So I was thinking, how far-fetched is it, in your view, to have something similar where, say, a network or a protocol where if a security is verified to be considered a security in the US, maybe is it possible to have a system of rules, maybe as a proof of concept, where, okay, this is an accepted security in the US, does it meet the criteria for to be a security in the EU, you know, at the technological level, represent the different jurisdictional requirements to enable, you know, a connection between the two systems, because there's some divergence. We are very likely going to see CBDCs in Europe. We are not going to see that in the US. However, everyone wants to have interconnectivity and have it be clear and work. Do you see that as a potential in the medium term? What do you think is required for something like that to happen?
Yeah, I think, again, like most of the assets that we speak about, and also relevant to Token City, are securities. They are defined by the EU law as securities, tokenization of securities, and it's securities by definition. When you tokenize a bond, you know, even a public traded bond, or you know, or a bond that was issued by a private company, it's still a bond. You know, if you tokenizing a share, that it's a share. Usually, there's no questions. You know, the questions come in sometimes where there's asset that is not very clear whether they are securities or not. Those are mainly crypto assets. So let's put those aside. You know, with bonds and shares, I think there's room for interoperability between Europe and the US. There shouldn't be any boundaries. And what we did with Onera, for example, was try to create this, you can call it like routing network or communication network, where different banks or financial institutions could lock the asset on their own balance sheet, but then represent it on the balance sheet of another bank across the world. Let's say like in Europe or in the US, depending on Asia, and then trade it. Once you have this interoperability, then you also have a lot of value that is unlocked, because there's like more liquidity in the market. Liquidity flows from different places in the market, and it happens today, you know, in public market. But in private market, I think there's a long way to go still.
Yeah, understood. So we are talking about the digital aspects, the more cutting edge version of security. So maybe it would be good if you could tell our audience. I have a quote here from one of your articles where you say that security tokens are like traditional securities wrapped electronically. So that's a very straightforward question. Maybe you could tell us what the practical differences are for security tokens compared to traditional securities.
Yeah, so that's true. That's exactly what it is. It's a traditional securities. In terms of the law, there's no real difference. Yeah, it's just that we took something and make it digital, and we know like from other industries where we digitize things, they tend to the streaming. It's more the flow. It's easier to flow. Like if you look at the record company, the song company, you got from the early records to the digitization of the song to the streaming. You saw what the digitization has done to those songs, and today we're in the digital world. We are moving from electronic to digital, and it's a different concept. And when you hold an Ether or Bitcoin in your wallet, it feels different from just showing the record of what you own in an electronic trading system. And the world is going to move that way. There's all kind of benefits to tokenization. One is very fast settlement time, some kind of automation because of the use of smart contract. There's a cost saving which is humongous, and I think that's what everybody's looking at about cutting off the CSDs and the settlement system, and just having a trading system that is has settlement and custody and trading all on the same platform, and the cost of saving is amazing. But there's also other benefits that is a little bit more out of sight, which is inclusion. For example, tokenizing of assets. It was said in the event as well that tokenizing those assets could allow for broader, especially if you're doing it on a public blockchain where everybody has access. It allows for the broader crowd to take part in innovation, in investing, especially when we have innovations like AI, for example, where only 10% of the world have access to those investment opportunities. So this is something that is very interesting. And I think that when you look at the blockchain technology, I heard that today, like a podcast about NVIDIA, and blockchain is very much like NVIDIA. NVIDIA started as a gaming company, and everybody would say, like, what's the market cap for gaming? Yeah, and then it became like the company that provide not the gaming, like the chip for gaming. Now, like then it became the company that provide chips for Bitcoin mining. And everybody was saying like, oh, who needs those, Bitcoin mining anyhow? And now the NVIDIA chips are used to actually fight cancer through AI, folding and creating innovations that is far beyond what it was conceived originally, because this is the nature of deep tech. And with blockchain, it's the same. Blockchain is deep tech. It is used right now. We're in the phase where we have still crypto and some NFTs maybe, and meme coins. But this is like the initial phase, similar to NVIDIA. Eventually, we're going to see how this technology completely changes the economy.
Absolutely. On that note, there's two aspects that maybe we could touch on. One is what are the most immediate product market fits that you see in the blockchain industry, aside from meme coins and so forth. I'm more talking about the traditional finance applications, and also clearly when the CEO of BlackRock is singing the praises of blockchain and tokenization at every chance he gets, it sounds really good. What do you think institutions like BlackRock and Citi and all the big financial players, what is required for them to apply blockchain at scale?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that I'm thinking of a lot. I think we saw a very clear product market fit with stablecoins, right? It's the fact that you can do remittance payment with stablecoins, meaning like you can work in every place in the world and then send the money back home using a stablecoin, or in places in the world where you don't have access to dollars so much, you can access the dollar through the purchase of stablecoins. I think this is first place where you saw huge product market fit for the industry. And then like FX players went in. I can tell you, like, every year I give a lecture at the school, the university which I studied. I did a master's degree and the first master's degree, and every day they invite me to speak about digital assets. And every time I need to update the presentation. And I saw that the last time that I was there was a year ago. The stablecoin market cap was about 800 million. And now that I was there, the stablecoin market cap is over 4 billion. So obviously a very straightforward like product market fit for the industry. Then it creates other innovation, because when you have a stablecoin that you hold digitally, you want to create a yield opportunities on top of them, right? You need to invest them somewhere. So you have tokenized money market fund that is offered by the asset managers, where you can invest now those stable coins. And this is another innovation, the tokenized money market fund that are taking over the world. And I think that the stablecoin 2.0 that we're seeing right now is basically a stablecoin that produces its own yield. So you invest in this, you buy the stablecoin, and the money that you hold paying you more money, paying you interest, not the bank or anyone, but the money itself, the stablecoin itself pays you interest. And this is the other innovation. So those innovations are coming side by side, they're advancing side by side. You have stablecoin from one side, you have the money market fund and tokenized assets from the other side, and they're advancing together. And then more RWAs, more reward assets are coming into the space as collateral for traders that want to take leverage, as collateral for other stable coins. So what we're seeing right now is the world converge. The digital world and the crypto world are converging into something that makes more sense.
Absolutely. And in terms of the great financial players, because like we were saying, we know that many of these big financial institutions, they want to be able to tokenize as many assets as possible because of the cost efficiencies and the increases in speed and everything else. So for the last question of today's interview, what do you think would be required for these big players to actually apply blockchain at scale?
Yeah, so first you mentioned BlackRock before. We don't like that people talk about it, by the way. Like, I'm going to be careful here. But it's the biggest asset manager in the world. Yeah. And when the CEO of the biggest asset manager in the world say that he's looking at tokenization, then you better listen, right? It means that all the other asset managers are also looking at tokenization. What was hindering until now? There were just, I think there was lack of clarity about regulation. Most of those institutions, whether you like it or not, are based in the US. They have zero tolerance for any regulation and clarity. So this was what was hindering them until now. There was also a staff bulletin board named Sub 121 that basically said that need to reflect it on the balance sheet if they hold a digital asset. That was hindering as well. But now I think that, with this new Trump administration, with the new task force that he nominated, with Hester Pierce coming into play and offering knowledge in this space, which is a SEC commissioner, also called the crypto man, for her views in this space. With everything coming together, I feel that they would receive more clarity and will be able to move faster. And we're living in very interesting times. If you're not in this space, come into this space. And if you're already in this space, like Token City, I think there's a lot of opportunities in this space.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ziv. That was great. We want to thank you again for your involvement in the industry, the fantastic event that you just organized a little ago. and all the work that you're doing with the security token group community, which is centripetal right now because there's just such an accumulation of talent and brains and experience in it that it's fantastic to see and to be a part of. So thank you so much. We hope that you come back again at some point, Steve. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's all, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you have enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.